Hey everybody, we are live, Hone Ty here, and you are watching the Hone Zone. And I would like to introduce my guest for today, Mr. Matt Faircloth. He was able to transform a $30,000 loan into $40 million worth of transactions in real estate. He's been in business for 15 years. He's a best-selling author. He's a full-time real estate investor. He invest in office buildings and multifamilies and single family flips, and he does it all. So I have the pleasure of having him on the show today. So Matt, welcome to the show.
Hone, I am so grateful to be here, man, in the Hone Zone, and I love that name, and I'm grateful to be here with you. You the man.
I am grateful that you actually came up with that because
It just came out of my mouth. Yeah, sorry.
you were on another interview with Jay Scott, and I had commented, and you said, "Oh, look, it's Hone. Hone's in the zone. Hone Zone." And then here we go. Let's do it. So you guys now are watching the Hone Zone, and so I am here with Matt. Make sure you guys like, comment,
glad I could contribute
share.
to it.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're going to have a lot to contribute to all of the viewers today. Now, you've been in business for 15 years. I'm sure you've seen your fair shares of ups and downs. 15 years means you were in the last crisis, the 2008 crisis, and you have done just about everything. The coolest thing that I think was how you
by mistake or on purpose.
Sometimes life happens for you, not to you, right? Sometimes it happens for you. The coolest thing that in my mind is that, so you wrote an article. I'm not even sure when you wrote it, but you wrote an article years, right? Yeah, and it was about how you shouldn't invest outside of 30 minutes from your house.
That's why I would never. I said I'll never invest 30 minutes away from my home.
Right. You planted the flag, right? I am never gonna invest.
Ain't never gonna, man. Just wait. And here's why. A whole big article. Why it's silly. If you do this, you're silly because you're giving up control and you're giving up profitability to other people, and you're taking your hands off the wheel, and you can't go check on your property and all this kind of stuff. I wrote that article like 4 years ago, and now I own in 4 different states.
Right. And it's funny because people will make declarations like that, and they will sound so confident in their stance.
Yeah.
Just for a few years to pass by and throw it all completely out of the window.
It's easy to be convicted on the way you feel about things. Like I'll never, and then life is like, hey, I'm gonna show you.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy said never. Let's make him wrong right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to I guess be humble about that and like, or have the humility, like, okay, I was wrong. I was just dead wrong about that.
Well, it has to do with the business we were running at that time, right? Like at that time, we ran a company in Trenton, New Jersey. We had an in-house construction team. So all the reno, everything we did I did probably 90% of the work that needed to be done on a rental property, on a fix and flip, on a rehab in-house. At that time, I probably had 3 fix and flips going at once in Mercer County in Pennsylvania. I had maybe 115 units of rental rental properties under management from my company, most of which I owned myself or with investors in that territory. So it's a good little business we had going on. And I wrote that article thinking, like, why would I ever take my hand off the wheel to have all this, and like that I can just go from a rental property to a fix and flip and then to another fix and flip and then go look at another deal I want to buy. And I can do all that myself, all right in my little circle. And at the time it made sense because I owned all of it and I was standing in the center of the circle,
Right.
At that time. That made sense. And so that philosophy is correct. And I had a very, a somewhat profitable, but small enough business that it was easy to work at that philosophy.
Right. Now you made the transition.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said you're in 4 states.
I am now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge transition that a lot of people want to make. So you went from being the man who wrote the article about not investing outside of 30 minutes
I did.
to being now in 4 states. So how did that transition happen? What did you experience? What were some of the hardest parts of that whole transition?
Hone, it didn't happen slow. It did happen slowly. It was this overnight thing that I just woke up and told Liz, like, oh my God, honey, we've been living life wrong, and we're so wrong. We've got to flip flip everything upside down and everything like that. Nothing to do with that. It actually, what happened was markets change, and Jersey prices were starting to come up, and it was harder and harder to find deals, to find flips that made sense. Wholesalers were getting in and driving up prices everywhere. So that like I wrote that article in like 2015. That was like the middle of the uptick when you could still make money and everything was still working out. Then you get to 16, 17. People are starting to say like, hey, we're going to have a recession. This thing's overheated, but it kept going. Right.
Right.
And that's a lot of markets became untouchable, and it's been hard to find a deal for the last couple of years. Now, if you're only investing 30 minutes outside in your own backyard, you are limited not only to a rising market, but by what's only around you. Okay.
Right.
So at that time, at that point in the market cycle, it became harder and harder to find deals. So we were looking for more multifamily. I had more and more investors that wanted to invest with us and get good rates of return on their money. And so we decided, you know what, I've got to go and I've got to expand out a little bit. So I called the broker. He sold me an 18 unit in Northeast Philly. And I was like, I need a deal. I'm looking for a good multifamily. And I need some markets. Here's some markets we're interested in. And I was like, okay, a little further out than 30 minutes. I'll like tack another hour onto it. And so I said, Lehigh Valley, Allentown, Easton, Bethlehem, Lehigh Valley area. I still like that. I don't own anything, but I still love that market. South Jersey, Philadelphia, of course. And I said, maybe the Harrisburg area, something around there, like Lancaster, Harrisburg. And immediately he's like, well, I actually happen to have a deal in Lancaster. So he sent it to us. It was a 49 unit building. It was almost exactly what we were looking for. We knew that market. I had family in that market. And we knew that market, the demographics worked. Not to get too micro, but the median income in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania versus the cost of living is a really, really favorable spread, meaning people earn good money there. They do. But the cost of living is still, it's similar to where it is in markets where the median income is way less. Just rent and a gallon of milk and real estate taxes cost a lot less in central Pennsylvania. But in hubs like that, like Lancaster and Harrisburg, people actually earn pretty good money. So anyway, we like that. And that makes the property very affordable for the tenants. So we went after it, and it was 2 hours away from my office. And I said, at first I was like, I'm going to plant a flag in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I'm going to manage this property myself with my own team. My wife was like, I will not be a real estate widow, and to have you run around and not be home ever, managing all these properties. So you will consider third-party management. And she was like, no, you're going to consider having somebody run that for you. And if they screw it up, you can always take it back over. And that's when I did some homework, and I found a great property manager out there. Slate, I'm not afraid to say their name, Slate House Group. They're a great company. And it really changed everything for me, Hone, because I realized I thought that control and having your finger on the pulse as the manager was the way to make real estate profitable. And I realized that it's not, that having a good property manager is the way to keep it profitable, and keeping your finger on the PM, you can do that. And you can actually keep your real estate just as lucrative if you find good managers in markets. And you do give up some control. You give up, I mean, Slate House would hate to hear me say this, but you do give up a little bit of profitability too, or a little bit of being able to directly hands-on control your cash flow. But in exchange for that, you're able to handle growth. You're able to do more outreach and do more investor relations stuff. So the properties don't do as well as they would if you were managing them yourself. It's true. But it's worth it. To me, it's worth the trade of bringing in third-party manager in exchange for me handling, outreach, growth, thinking bigger about the property that we're in on. And maybe for the most part, they're able to hold it down. I still believe that they're not running it as well as my team did, the Trenton stuff that we have, but it's okay. I'm willing to compromise on that and freeing me up and allowing me to think bigger about the portfolio we have.
Right. And one of the things that I heard you said was that you like this area because the demographics work. So I do want to go a little micro, because people on this call, they're in the business, they're in the weeds. So they appreciate the little details. And the one detail that you said was that the median income versus the cost of living there's a really good spread, there's a really good ratio. Are there other things that you look for that also makes you think, yes, this is where I want to be?
Mm-hmm. Are you talking about? Well, yeah. So I can tell you it's simply for that property. The buy price. When I evaluate real estate, I look at the purchase price versus the rent that the property is bringing. That is the first factor I look at. Above all else, Bigger Pockets calls it the 1% rule. You know,
Got
and that rule's been around forever.
Yeah.
And I don't buy at the 1% rule. I try and buy 1.2, 1.3, 1.4%. So in Lancaster County, you can still buy around that range. So we've been able to evaluate real estate that way. And that property specifically was for sale at that range of like a 1.3, 1.4% ratio.
Okay.
Simple as that. It doesn't go any further. When I saw that, I said that could be a good deal, and it's in a market I want to be in because there's other demographic factors. Now, we've gotten a lot more sophisticated as a company today. I actually have somebody who handles acquisitions for us, and his name is Hervé, and Hervé looks at a lot of different things, including job growth, job diversity, demographic diversity, long-term growth over market cycles, and how markets handled the last downturn. I mean, it's nice to pound your chest and talk about how you're in Miami or something like that. And Miami's looked good the last couple of years, but Miami didn't look good during the last downturn.
Right.
You know, so markets that didn't handle, like Vegas, Miami, didn't handle the last downturn very well. I'm not saying they're going to handle this one differently, but I probably wouldn't invest there because they haven't proven that they are recession proof yet. Now you can argue that now because Vegas isn't the same Vegas that it was 10 years ago and all that stuff. But you know, when you look at how markets held up in recessions, it actually is a good factor if you look back over the years. So that's how those are things we look at.
Right. So, and then that 1% rule for everybody watching, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but if the rent is $1,000, then the purchase price would be $100,000. That's 1%. So 1% of the purchase.
I don't buy at 1% because for the type of real estate I try and do, 1% is typically a break even. Right.
Right.
For C-class real estate, B-class real estate, meaning like just, blue collar or slightly above blue collar housing. That 1% is kind of a break even. Or at least a little bit of cash flow. We try and bring 1.2, 1.3. So if I'm buying a property for $100,000 a unit, I would want to see $1,200 to $1,300 come in and rent soon maybe not the day of ownership, but within a reasonable amount of time of ownership to get it there. I had a broker call me yesterday about a property in the Lehigh Valley. The average rents are $1,300 a month, and they wanted $200,000 a unit. I said, don't even send it to me.
Right.
He's like, well, the expense ratio is really good, and it's new construction and this and that. And I'm like, no, you cannot twist my arm. And by the way, the fact that a property is new construction to me is not a good thing. Because that means that, first of all, the seller's trying to reap all their profit from me out of it. They've just built it. They want to get compensated, but they likely didn't build it for longevity. They likely built it for profitability, meaning like the potential to pinch on construction costs is probably there, you know? We're in the middle of working on building some new stuff ourselves, believe it or not. During Corona crazy, we're talking about building new apartment buildings. But I want to build it and keep it. And we're going to build it for longevity, build it for a 20-year cycle of holding, build it for utility savings, build it for low maintenance. There's no telling whether somebody you're buying something from that was just built, was built with those things in mind too. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because their exit strategy was to flip. And they're flipping it to you. And how do you maximize your profit? Well, maybe you skimp on the rehab a little bit or the construction part, right? Mm-hmm. So, not saying that they did, and not saying that they're unethical and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, also, I'll be straight with you here. I've done fix and flips. Now, we don't hide anything in the walls, but we have been clearly like, we are not going to build a big back deck on this property. Like we will not do certain improvements that maybe the home buyer would like to do, because I got to draw the line somewhere, you know. Now, if I were like building myself a new home, I probably would leave no stone unturned. It's similar. Is building myself a rental versus building myself a home to live in are similar enough that I'm going to make sure that all the stones get turned and that everything gets built for longevity, and things like that. So I don't recommend buying new construction, but I think that building new construction is something that is interesting, especially because you're going to be under construction during a recession. And given the market cycle timing, to both of our good friends, Jay Scott says that by the time that you're done construction, you're going to be out of the recession. It's a good time to put a new product on the market.
That's a good way to put it.
During a recession, contractors are going to be eager to work with you. They're not going to be like, because right now, up to the last 5 years, contractors have been like, yeah, get in line. I'm going to charge another 20% because I can.
Because I can, right? Yeah.
I need a new boat, so I'm going to charge you more for that plumbing job. You know,
they used to hold all the cards, right?
They do. They have the last 6-7 years. They don't realize they don't hold the cards anymore. I've talked to a few contractors that haven't figured that one out yet, but a lot of contractors, God bless them, became very wealthy the last 7 or 8 years because there was such a boon in reno and construction and rehab and redoing or rebuilding of things, and that. And God bless them. That's America. I'm glad they're able to do that. But the tables are turning to where they're going to be a lot more hungry soon, I think.
Right. Now, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. You've done apartments, right? You've done the multifamily apartments. You've done office buildings. You've done the fix and flips. You've done all of that. What was your favorite? What do you like doing the most? Where do you find the most interest?
It's a
hard one.
My wife will shoot me. No, because I'm going to say something I shouldn't. I enjoy fixing flips. We don't do flips anymore. I got one flip that I'm just closing off in Robbinsville, New Jersey. But other than that, I don't have any flips in the pipeline, and I won't have any for the foreseeable future, because we're changing up our business model. Because you can only focus on but so many things. And for the longest time, Hone, I was jack of all trades and went into a lot of different things. As I said before, I'm going to flip and I'm going to buy apartment buildings and I'm going to do some private loans and do some this and do some that. And I did a lot of it. And I built a little fiefdom of a lot of different kinds of real estate all in my backyard. But we've grown into doing more multifamily and becoming more of a grown up company out of this thing. And we've done better with the multifamily than we have with anything else. We're just going to focus on multifamily and focus on private loans and things like that. You know, so lending and multifamily is what we're going to be sticking to for the foreseeable future, which takes me out of fix and flips. But I love recreation and updating and seeing something here, and then going like this and having it come to fruition in front of you. There's nothing like it, Hone. Like this property would be so great if we took this wall down and opened up this floor plan, or let's move the kitchen from here to over here, and let's refurnish this bathroom and everything like that. And you see it here. And I've seen properties that were destroyed, nasty, and then just breathing that life back into these properties and taking something that was an eyesore and making it a home that people are going to create memories out of. Forget it, man. There's nothing like it. There's nothing. It's like you got a magic wand. Can you do that?
Can you do that with your multifamilies?
I do at home, but it's not as exciting.
Okay.
Because you can do one, right? Like you go in and you're like, okay, we're gonna redo this kitchen and we're gonna do the cabinets. It's more corporate, It's more like, every nickel and dime matters. I'm trying to think of an example. I got one. We're doing a property in North Carolina. One of our investors is like, hey, those outlets that have the USB plug on them?
Yeah.
Those things are awesome. And tenants love those things because they got the USB. It's got one outlet and it's got a USB plug on the top. Mm-hmm. People love it because I can just take my handy dandy little thing and plug my cell phone in there. I love it, honey. We got to have this apartment. And we were like, that's great. That's such a cool idea. At the time when I looked at that property, that item, just the physical outlet retailed for like $10 a piece, right?
Right.
$10. How are you going to be? It's $10. I'll put that in every room of my fix and flip. No big deal, right? Okay, let's have a conversation. Patate charged me another $15 in labor to install it. Okay, take out the other outlet, wire it in, install it in there. Okay, now take $25 and multiply it times 200 units of real estate.
Right. And
right.
That's your net worth right there. Like a big change in your net worth.
It's little stupid stuff like that you're like, oh man, I guess I can't put in the cool outlet with the USB on it,
Right.
Because then it gets into like, well, do you want to do that? or do you want to put a fancier handle on the bathtub, or do you want to put an LED light fixture in that's going to save you money in the common areas? And that also is $25 a door to do that, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't like it, but there becomes more accounting and more leverage up and more cap rates and more, more economic level conversations. And you don't get to just have your palette and paintbrush and just throw a little bit of blue, a little yellow, a little green on the property and just kind of paint it the way you want it. For multi, there's way more of a science than an art to it. Right.
Yeah.
And I love that side of it too, but there's more of my other side of the brain that doesn't get tickled as much in the creative side that I used to get a lot out of fix and flips. I've had to get that elsewhere. I've had to get more of that through media production and my YouTube channel.
Stuff like this.
I scratched my creative itch, which I wasn't doing back then, but everybody has a creative itch. And so I was scratching it through flips, but I can't do that anymore because it doesn't make sense. We can't 10x it. Right. So I'm doing that through writing books and through media stuff and through teaching and through working with people and stuff. So I'll always have that creative desire to do something creative like that, but I'm not able to do it in the business. I got to do it in more the peripheral, which is okay.
I think the last time I talked to you, when I last actually saw you, where I could actually give you a handshake, I asked, "How is writing a book?" And you said it's hard.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done, man. It's hard. God bless. Like Bigger Podcasts, like, you want to write a book? I'm like, yeah, I want to write a book. The hell, I'll write a book. How hard can it be? I'll write a book. I write articles for you guys every week. How hard could it be to write a book? Hell yeah, I write a book. You know? And then I realize a book is 80,000 words. An article is 1,000 words,
Right.
And there's a lot of time that it takes. And so when I write my second book, it will take me a lot less time to write it and a lot less. And we're already working, Liz and I are already working on a book. But at the end of the day, it'll be easier than the first book was, because the first book was about, you got to learn how to write a book. People think it's just second nature. It's not. It is something that you've got to really deal with. You got to the biggest thing you got to deal with, Hone, is writer's block.
Yeah.
And getting past writer's block and getting past, I don't know what I want to write.
How do you do it? How do you do it? How do you get back?
You do it. You write anyway.
Okay.
You just do it. You write anyway, even though you're like, I don't know what I want to say. Okay. There's a movie called, I don't know if this may be, I'm dating myself a little bit, but there's a movie called Finding Forrester with, okay, they got the Scottish accent. That's tried to play a bunch of different characters, but he's always got a Scottish accent. He played Sean Connery. Okay. He was a Russian submarine commander, but he still sounds like he was from Scotland. Anyway, he plays a professor, and I think Forrest Whitaker or somebody else, the young African-American kid, comes to him, and the young African-American kid's trying to become a writer. And Sean Connery's character just says, listen, just sit and write. And so, I don't know what to write about. No, just put your fingers on the keyboard and just write. It doesn't matter. And if nothing comes to mind, write the words, nothing comes to mind, Wow. It's hard, but eventually you'll start unleashing the cosmic tumblers that are, because I believe creativity, I mean, not to get too hokey here, but I believe and I know you're of this mindset too, because I heard some things you've said before. Creativity comes through us, not from us, right? Mm. And you've got to open up the cosmic channels to let whatever divine force you believe in pour the inspiration through your hands, into your head, through your hands, out into the keyboard, right? And all writer's block is a disconnect between that up here and your hands and you. And by you opening up that and just writing whatever and letting just a lot of that, the cobweb just come out, and it could turn into I hate my life, everything sucks, and I want to burn my business down. And oh, hey, maybe it's so bad. I'm still writing. Hey, maybe I'm enjoying thinking out loud, and my fingers are doing the walking, and this is great. And then before you know, what I'm going to talk about? I'm going to talk about this. And it all of a sudden, there's a moment that you go from writer's block to you start just doing, I don't want to do this anymore. And the whole time, I don't want to be writing. I hate what I'm writing right now. This is a complete jarble. I'm going to delete this. You just keep doing it. You keep going. And then there's a click, And at that click point, you get in. And like normally what happened for me anyway was I'd be writing about one conversation that was in the book, and it was just garbage drivel that I was going to delete. I was right that I'm going to delete this. Like, I think I want to talk about that other chapter. So I'd go pull up my outline, and I would pull up another chapter of the book. And I was supposed to be writing chapter 4, and it was just all drivel. And then I would start working on chapter 6, and chapter 6 is only supposed to be 30 pages, and I'd write 50 that day. And you kind of get into the zone where you forget what time it is. If you probably got any creative type knows what I'm talking about. You just get into it, and you can't break out. The phone does. You forget. You forget where you are physically. You kind of lose physical touch with reality, and all you are is in creative space. And like I said, you forget what time it is. You look at your watch, you're like, holy shit, it's like an hour and a half from when I got started on this. Or you realize you're hungry. And you're like, oh, geez, why am I hungry? Oh, it's because I haven't eaten in 3 hours. Because I've been doing this for so long, you kind of get connected. Then I would come home, and my wife would be like, so how did chapter 4 go? Go, I didn't work on chapter. No, I didn't work on chapter 4, babe. She's like, what are you doing? We're on a deadline for chapter 4. We got to get it done. I'm like, you got to read what I wrote for chapter 6, though. It's amazing.
Right. I got awesome chapter 6. That zone thing you're talking about. Actually, that's what adrenaline junkies like feel when they're in the zone, whatever they're doing. So like, I'm a mountain bike rider, and when I'm bombing down a hill and I'm just like, I'm hitting every single line perfectly, like there are no thoughts in your head other than what you're doing. And that's just a place that it's super rare to be in. But when you're there, it's like, it, and nothing else matters. So that hyper focusedness, that where the best of you comes out, parts of you that you didn't even know were good, like just come out, and you get to shine. So that zone.
There's something to it, man. I mean, and not a lot of people live in there. And if you live in reaction space only and allowing the world to happen to you, then you're really missing a lot of the joys of being in the zone like that. And we can't live life like that. I mean, there's a book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
Phenomenal book. He talks about living life as if you're mountain bike riding every day, meaning like just when you're mountain bike riding like that, you're not thinking about like real estate deals you got to do. You're not thinking about when you got to walk the dog. You're not thinking about where you park the car. Nothing. All you are is you become one with the trail, Right. When I talk about writing, I become one with the book. I ski. So I become one with the trail, with the ski slope and stuff like that. I get it. And it's very hard to live life like that. But Eckhart is saying that there is a possibility to expand your connectedness to now.
Yeah.
That you end up living most or if not all of your life in the moment. There is no other moment. There's just right now. That's all there is.
Right. And the anxiety and fear and worry and everything else comes from when you're not living in the moment. And when you're when you're living in the future or the past. That's
thinking about it. That's what you are thinking about. Not to think too much about Corona crazy time, but I mean, a lot of the fear that people are thinking about Corona crazy are things like, well, what if I can't pay my bills? Or what if I can't do this? Or what if I can't that? What if in the future I lose my real estate? Or what if my tenants don't pay their rent? Whatever it is. Those are all things that are not now,
Right.
Now conversations are, I'm healthy. I'm breathing. I don't have coronavirus. I think I do anyway, right? I mean, 2 weeks incubation periods. You never know, right? But at the end of the day, you just acknowledging what's now and then having enough confidence that if one of those things do show up, I will have the power and strength to deal with it then.
Right. It's interesting that you said like you like to do the flips and everything. And I think you like doing the flips because what you mentioned was you like creating the space. You like making it beautiful and moving the walls and all that kind of stuff. When you're doing that, you're living in the now of designing it. You're living in the now. You're in the zone of that house. The thing that I find when I teach new investors to become investors that want to do the flips or they think they want to do the flips, all they can envision is that big paycheck. But what I've experienced, and maybe you experienced it too, after you actually flip the property, like that part of it, that flipping the property, getting the check, it's almost like that's the least gratifying part. You think that that's the thing, and then you get it, and you're like, "Huh? I thought I was."
It's in some ways disappointing.
Yeah,
I hate to say that, but I've walked out, and people are like, "What the fuck?" Sorry, pardon my French, but I've walked out of closing with like an $80,000 check, and
Yeah.
been sad
Yeah.
and been like, man, I love that house. You know,
Right.
most of the flips that I really did, I'd call Liz up and be like, why don't we move into this house? I'm so attached. I become like this. I like this house, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and she'll be like, no, I can't do that one. You know, you got to get us sell it. You know, that was never the intention and stuff like that. So, I totally get it, but it's interesting. My biggest joy of a flip is walking it, like when the paint's drying and everything's cleaned out, that last site walk. And I try and do my last walk of the property right for the open house when
Yeah.
everything's all done, and just think, and I do the mental connection of where it was to where it is now. To me, that's the apex. And it actually goes down from there, because then you get into the no fun part of it and haggling and
Yeah.
negotiating. And
Right.
you think it's worth this, and a buyer wants to buy it for this because they want to get a good, you know, it kind of becomes your baby at some point. Like, yeah, you can't have my baby for a little bit less. What are you talking about? You know?
Right.
And so I think that people like Jay Scott that have flipped a ton of houses would laugh at me for this, but I get connected to him sometimes, to the flips, because I put a lot of my heart and soul into him. Jay figured out how to do it as a scalable business, which is something I
Right.
know how to do for apartment buildings. It's something that he figured out how to do at like a 10x level for flips, which I never got to the realm of doing it like that. I looked at myself more of an artist when I was doing fix and flips.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's okay to feel. It's because you're human. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
yes, we
You
are.
know, Jay Scott's a machine. That's what it
He
is.
is.
He's
Yeah.
a machine, and we're human, and we have feelings. And so,
he's a cyborg, right?
yeah, yeah. Let's go into that a little bit more, because everybody's talking about, like, we can go all day about the numbers, but something that was interesting. You got the $80,000 check, and it was like, huh. So that was
Well,
not
you know what? I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't like depressing, but
Yeah.
but by the time you get to closing on a deal like that, you're already thinking. I was already thinking, what's next? Does that make
Right.
sense?
Right.
You know, I was already like, what am I gonna do now? My brain was already on the next flip, already on the next baby that I'm going to go and create, and or all the next real estate, or I'd already spent that money mentally,
Right.
when I was going to put it on this or put it in that or put it in this bucket or put it in my pocket, whatever. And so that's why it was anticlimactic in some ways. Not that I'm not grateful. People are like, oh, you're in great. No, I'm very grateful for the money that we made on our fix and flips, and it manifested a lot of great things for us. But I can tell you that the joy wasn't closing, and receiving the check is anticlimactic. For people that haven't gotten checks like that, you will realize that checks like that are way more anticlimactic than you think they might be.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Wow. I didn't realize that my stream isn't coming through, but people are commenting.
Ooh.
Let's see. I am managing a newer construction HOA right now, and they're looking at probably $500,000 in repairs already, 19 units due to poor construction. So I think this was a comment based on what you were saying earlier about how
True that, man. So what's funny, Hone, is I was looking at we're going to be building probably about 28 units in Trenton. And I was talking to my business partner about it, and I was like, let's go hire a modular company. And he was like, unless you want to flip it. We said, if you want to flip it, we can do that. But if you want to hold this thing, no. And because he was like, you're going to have a ton of warranty for modular. It goes up quick, but there's not a modular manufacturer that he had met yet that was able to really stand behind their product long term. It just kind of is just slapjack together in a lot of ways. Not to like knock all modular companies, but it can be kind of tossed together. So yeah, good comment. I know they're not talking about modular, but I mean, I'm just talking about shoddy workmanship overall.
Right. So let's talk about. We briefly got a chance to catch up, and I asked you an interesting question. I was like, so how's your life? Like, how do you like your life? And I think that's the part that a lot of real estate investors forget to consider, because we're getting into the business for the most part. It's because the money's great, right? We choose it for the money. We choose it because you're buying assets that pay you passively, that appreciate over time, that offers tax benefits through depreciation. We have principal pay down and all of that stuff, and we all know it. But then it's like, we're not doing it for the sake of the real estate. We're doing it because it's going to improve our life. But then sometimes we forget about our life. We just keep doing the real estate.
Well,
So,
real estate investing too often turns into chasing the dollar, you know?
right,
And a lot of, I mean, listen, and I'm not like knocking bigger pockets because I'm one of their, I'm a contributor and I'm extremely grateful for them. But what a lot of, and this is maybe a lot of comments for people that are, followers of it. The worship of the dollar becomes very prevalent in real estate investing, and people want to get in real estate investing just so they can get rich.
right,
I can tell you that for someone who's had financial success in real estate, there's beyond that. And you and I know people. You and I both know somebody who became very successful in real estate and got very depressed. And that, but right after it, and had like a couple of year period of depression after they became very wealthy through real estate. So money is not the end all be all. Money is most people's target, but I can tell you, once you get there, it's the pursuit of happiness is really what we should be working on. And now money can give you, and real estate can give you time. And with that time, you can put that time into things that make you happy. But time is really what you ought to be pursuing, so that, and time's not going to make you happy either. You got to go and spend the time on things that you want to do, that are your passions.
Right. Right. So that there is where so many people go wrong. Like you said, that person, he made so much money and is more depressed than ever. Lottery winners, a lot of times, they went, their lives are worse after they won all the money.
They have a high suicide rate. Lottery winners do. They have most of them end up losing all of it because they either don't see themselves as worthy of what they got, or are just realize, hey, this is like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Is getting all this money, and because society puts money up on a pedestal. And not that money's not great. Listen, money's great. I have money, and money's allowed me to drive the car of my dreams and live in a great house and all those kinds of things. But none of those things make me happy. They're just perks.
Perks.
Yeah.
That's a good way.
Just enjoyable little things that I get to have that make me happy.
Right.
Like I get to drive my nice car. But happiness really is me spending a lot of time with my kids, or being able to invest in passions, or teach people. If you guys know me at all, you know that I love teaching. Anybody that knows me, watches my YouTube channel, has read my book or whatever. I love teaching people how to do whatever I know how to do. Right. And you saw me at the mastermind in South Jersey. I love teaching. And so that's one of my passions. And because I have my time, I'm allowed to go and take off on a Monday and hang out and mastermind with a bunch of people in South Jersey. If I didn't have my time freedom, I wouldn't be able to run that mastermind with you. Know?
I think I'm finding a little nugget here, but it's what we talked about before and what we're talking about right now. It's that you now have the time and the money to be able to afford and do the things where you're in the zone.
What you want to do. There you go.
Right. That's what
be in the zone.
To be in the zone. Right. The money and the time is to be in the zone. But if you're not in the zone, or you're not doing things where you're in the zone, you've missed it. You kind of missed the boat.
Well, let me turn it around on you for a second, right? Like, would your life happiness go up more if you could mountain bike 30 hours a week? If your body held up for it, because I know mountain biking can be tough on the body. I know mountain biking can be grueling, especially if you go over the handlebars once or twice. But if you're able to live in that zone of, like you talked about, right? Yeah. But what do you think about that?
Yeah. And I ski as well. I snowboard, I do all that kind of stuff. So it's, if I could.
You're an outdoorsman.
Yes, all through and through, right? So just being out there, being in it, I think if I spent more time,
I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you should. I'm just using it as an example. All I'm saying, and I'm not challenging you, all I'm saying is that if you had a real estate business that was able to produce all the money you ever needed forever and ever and ever, the happiness is not going to be, I'm making $30,000 a month in my real estate business, hands off. The happiness comes from what you do with yourself while while that money's coming in. It's not the money, it's the things that you do outside of it,
Yes. And so being able to do those things. Yeah.
You don't need $30,000 a month to go mountain biking more frequently. And most people realize that is that you can live the life of your dreams if you figure it out on $5,000 a month. If you could tweak a few things and twist and turn. People think they need to be making $100,000 a month to be happy. I can tell you, you could create the happiest people I know are ones that are just living their lives that they want, and they don't make that much. You know, I know people that are happy
Right.
that are very, very wealthy. I'm not saying that it's not possible,
Right.
but they're happy not because of their wealth. They're happy because they're what they're doing with it.
Right.
So
Right. So it's not necessarily correlated. It's really what you're doing with your time.
it's all about it. That's what it is, I think.
And then where your mindset is, right? Because people with all the money, they buy the car or whatever, and they think that like that's going to do it. But if they're not in the zone when they're driving the car and they just did it for that external reason, then they've kind of missed it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's see. We got a question I could put on the screen. So, from Rich, is it a good time to invest
up,
in
Rich?
multifamily?
I love your
multifamily
caricature,
properties?
Rich. That's cool looking, man. I love it.
Or should we invest in single family homes, multifamilies versus single families? Is the
Too soon to
question
say,
here.
Rich. Too soon to say, buddy. We haven't seen the other shoe drop yet on pricing. I mean, people that are like, oh, I'm going to jump into multifamily and whatnot. Like, I mean, a lot of people think that Corona crazy has absolutely socked our whole world in the gut. And they're probably right. But at the end of the day, we really don't know how this is going to affect real estate pricing. There just hasn't been enough transactions. Nobody's really out buying deals right now. People are trying to find deals. People are trying to manifest opportunities and all that, but nobody's out raking it in. The people that are talking about how they're raking it in are full of it because you can't right now. This is the Corona crazies happened too soon. So I think it's too soon to say, Rich, but what I can tell you, Rich, is that things are going to change and that you should invest based on what your resources and skill sets are now. Single families have their benefits. Multifamily has its benefits too, but you might have to get into syndications. My book, Raising Private Capital, that I wrote for Bigger Pockets, talks a lot about how to get money from other people, and how to manifest the money that you may need to grow your business. But you've got to decide. You got to make a lot more decisions than just single or multi right now, Rich. Goals and everything like that.
What's the name of your book?
Raising Private Capital.
That's it. Raising Private Capital.
Raising Private Capital. And then the subtitle is building your real estate empire with other people's money.
Okay. All right. I think I can guess what's in the book based on that title. So yeah, you raised a lot of money, and I guess this is why you were able to write the book. But it was 30,000 to 40 million. That's quite the jump there. That's not even 10x. That's more than 10x. That's even more than 10x.
Yeah. How many X's is that? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
What times X is that? I don't know. It's
13.
13. Look at you.
Well,
you need a little math, man. Come on. Look at you. I love that. Yeah, it's been, I went on a long journey in learning how to raise money for myself and how to set how to set up private arrangements, win-win, let's say, where the investor wins, you win, everybody wins, everybody's dancing in the street, you know. Right. But bottom line is, like, the investors gets their goals met. I got my goals met. We've been able to arrange a lot of that through our real estate business over the years. And the book Raising Private Capital is about how people can do that too. Number one. Number two, about how we all likely know people with money to put into our business. And that the book talks about different stages of raising money, like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1's about your local network, and I think most people should start there. And then once you've built up a track record there, then start to work your way up into larger echelons of money raising.
Okay.
You know,
I'm sorry, I said 13. I meant 1300x. 1300x. Yeah. So that's quite the thing. Now,
I'll take it.
What is it that you saw in other people? Like, how did you know to approach them? How did you have that conversation with them? How does that even start? Somebody who's like never raised $1. And
well,
they go,
I mean,
I don't know
the
anybody.
book talks about how to go out and pursue those relationships. That is not what we did. What Liz and I did was we were just, we weren't looking for private money. We were trying to do this thing on our money. And I think a lot of people that maybe can relate to that people that have sizable portfolios that have yet to raise a nickel from private money. Like, why would I do that? Well, we had like a 40 unit portfolio at the time. And now we have, 750 units. No way I'm doing that on my own money, right? All by myself. I probably could increase it and all that, but not to that size. Now, Liz went to UPenn. I married a smart girl. It's good to marry up. So she was had connected with one of her colleagues on LinkedIn. And they were like having an alumni reconnection event thing. And she was talking to him, and he's like this successful stockbroker in New York. And he's, active and got a lot going on for himself and all that, and just very busy. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm doing my thing. And she had a consulting gig at the time. It's like, oh, my husband's investing in real estate, running a real estate company. And he stops her, goes, real estate investing, that's so interesting. And then he pauses and he says, I sure wish I could invest in real estate too, but I just don't have the time. And she just was like,
I think I got something for you.
You should talk to my husband. And so I went up to New York, that's where he lived, and had breakfast with him. And I walked out of there, and he was by the end of that meeting, I had a commitment from him to put $50,000 into something that we came up with. He was like, find me something that I can put 50 grand into.
Right.
And I went out and found a deal. We were not pursuing private money. It's just, not that it fell in our lap, but it's just one of those life, like walking down the road and there's a spur to go left, spur to go right. We decided to try out private money. And then that deal went well. He told his friends about it. They got into our next deal. And then it started to snowball from there. And before you knew it, we were raising money for larger and larger deals. And then I developed a bit of a street cred around it. And before you know it, I can talk about it from a microphone in front of an audience. And then that generates more. That's stage 3. Of that's tier 3 in the book. Tier 1 is your own network. Tier 2 is their friends and your network's network. And then tier 3 is becoming kind of picking up a microphone and saying, look what I'm doing. Look at all the money I'm making these people. And then that's when the faucets really turn on. So
we got a question in from Damien. He says,
bring it on, Damien.
How are some ways to convince friends that make 6 figures to either invest in real estate themselves or invest in my projects? I have had friends ask me why I was wasting my time with real estate, and I have to explain to them that it's not much work and that there are different ways to invest in real estate. So how do you convince 6-figure earners?
People that have been like riding the stock market up on the upturn when the Dow was flirting with 30,000 and stuff like that are like, real estate, look at my portfolio. I mean, the problem is you're not in control of it. So here's a few talking points, Damien. Right now is a good time to talk to folks that have been heavy on Wall Street, because it's like, Wall Street's down right now. It's a good time. Not that I try and sell against Wall Street per se, but it's a good time to bring it up and say, wouldn't it be good to diversify right now? I mean, are you done with that? Because wouldn't it be good to have something with a little more control to it and a little more recourse, a little more collateral, That's one way to go about it, is to go to Wall Street person that's heavy Wall Street and say, I can diversify you into something that has collateral, meaning like if I don't pay you back this loan that you're going to give me, you can come and take the property. And I believe all real estate investors should start with a private loan, because that's very easy to put together, very easy to get the documents together on. Equity's not as easy. I didn't know that because there wasn't like an older Matt Faircloth to talk to young Matt Faircloth back then. And so I went right into equity, which is harder to do. And you have to give away a lot of upside to your partner, but loans are very easy to do, and you can go right in and start turning projects with it, and you get to keep all the upside. Now, a few other points. Show deals to your friends, but also get to know what their financial goals are. Where do they want to go? What kind of returns are they looking for? Unfortunately, Damien, people that think that they know more than they really do are probably going to spit out a stupid number when you ask them what kind of returns they want. You're gonna ask them what they want, and they're gonna be like, I want to make 25% on my money. Okay, great. Good talking to you. I can't commit to that from anybody. I can show them a deal that might make that, but it also might not. And it's likely going to have a lot more upside risk to get anywhere near those numbers. If people are really willing to listen on what kind of collateralized secured returns you can get them without them lifting a finger and truly sending the mailbox money, then they'll likely listen to you. And you can present something that maybe produces in the high single digits to them. Like, listen, I can send you 8-9% on them, and I can send you a monthly check. How's that sound? And they might say, I can get 25 on my own. Great, go ahead and do that. They might not be, especially if they're active already, Damien, they might not be the right investor for you. I hate to say that, but it might be true.
Right. So just throw a bigger net.
Bottom line, get to know their goals, show them projects you're working on and what you could offer. and be prepared to not commit to them on something if you don't think you can get them what they want, return wise.
Right. What should people be doing now? Like a lot of people are stuck inside, and I've been advocating use this time as a gift to work on your business. What is it that you would say to people that they should do now? Now that they have all this time, they can't go out, they can't shop, they can't escape from reality. Well, they can still escape, I guess, but what should they be doing?
Well, I mean, I know people that are like, learning another language right now. I mean, if
Right.
you're not like me, like I got 2 young kids. I got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. So when I'm not like running my business or talking to you, I'm chasing around 2 little rugrats. So it's hard for me to look at this as extracurricular time. But if you don't have kids, I mean, there's only so much, Netflixing you can do, to get yourself caught up on the Netflix feeds and stuff like that. You could, as you said, do some planning, do some goal setting, do some soul searching, do some writing, do some blogging, do some like authoring. I think everybody has a book in them. If you're willing to try and get through the writer's block resistance, then I think that you could do some writing too. There's a lot you could do. I think it's really about doing something creative, or making the list of things you've always wanted to do but have never had the time to do it. So,
All right. So create. Ultimately, it's create. Right. And that's the creative side of you coming out.
well, we
saying,
got
like,
right in the work world. We spend so much time doing, so it's either to spend time being or creating. And so, like, I mean, again, if you're not chasing around young kids like I am, then try out meditation. Like try meditating for 20 minutes every day, broken up into 2 10-minute segments. You know, try doing aerobics in your home. I mean, if you feel like you've got some weight to lose, or if you want to adjust
yeah,
your healthy lifestyles, most days I do an aerobic workout in front of my TV off of YouTube. I just look up like 20-minute cardio workout, no weight. I don't know, because I don't want to use weights. I just want to do jumping jacks and burpees and stuff like that. So I just Google that. And these insane people show up, these crazy lunatics that are doing this stuff in their basement, that will they will absolutely kick your butt for 20
right.
minutes. I say crazy lunatics with love, because these people are nuts what they're able to do with their
Right.
bodies, and I'm trying to keep up with them, and it's fun, and I enjoy it, and I break a good sweat in 20 minutes in my living room.
Right.
There's no excuse to not take care of your body, take care of your brain. Now's a good time for optimization of ourselves, I think.
Right. The transition from 9 to 5 employee to full-time entrepreneur, real estate investor, whatever, that requires a lot of discipline, because you have all the time in the world to do anything that you want. And the problem is you also choose to do nothing sometimes. So how do you find your motivation, your drive, whatever it is, to do the things that you know are productive? Yet it's so easy to say, I don't want to do it. No, how do you do it? How do you get it done? Being an entrepreneur full time, you have to dictate your own schedule. Like, what is it that allows you to do that?
Well, okay. There's a couple different things in there. I mean, I run myself on a pretty tight schedule, and I think that if you kind of let the world happen to you, then that's where you're going to be. And I still spend a lot of time in reaction mode, but at the end of the day, I try and plan out of much of my productivity. Like, I'm going to do this, and do this, and do this. Now, with regards to procrastination, I used to think, I'm a habitual procrastinator, but like, it's interesting. I'm taking a program called the Strategic Coach, which is, unfortunately, it's on hold right now because it's a face-to-face thing in Chicago. But the guy, Dan Sullivan, that created Strategic Coach, actually says, look at procrastination as a gift. Because what procrastination means is you don't want to do something, and look at why you don't want to do it. And it's likely because it's not in your core genius, and it's not something you should be doing. So if you are procrastinating, that's okay. Outsource it. Either button up and get it done and quit being a lazy bastard and work your way through it. But if you're procrastinating to do something that has to get done every month in your business, you are not wired to be doing that. It's not your brain's it's not your God-given talent to be doing that thing that you're supposed to be doing. Right. So what's happening is your energy is sending you a signal saying, I don't want to do this. And it's because I'm not really set up to do it. There's
Right.
several I'm not wired to do it. But things that you're excited to do that to people would have to hold you away from, that's what you should be doing more of. You
Okay. So
know,
you're double down on your strengths.
double down on your strengths. The most successful people only do their strengths.
Okay. And then
So
they hire out everything else.
that's the worry. That's the way of the successful executive. Give away things you suck at. Do things you're great at.
What about things like exercise? Because you can't
different.
outsource that, right? Yeah,
It's you got to realize the value of that, right? I mean, listen, I procrastinated exercise too, but it's one of those things that you got to realize the inner value, you know.
Right.
So
Right. We got another question.
Go ahead.
Question from Damien. Matt, you invest in Trenton. I drive
do.
through Trenton.
I used to invest in Trenton, but
I drive through Trenton to go to Philly all the time. What made you invest in Trenton, and do you think it's going to gentrify?
Well, so what's interesting is I started investing in Trenton because it was acres of diamonds. It was in my backyard. I used to live in Bordentown, which is 2 towns south of Trenton, and so Trenton just made sense. It was the closest C-class urban community with prices that made sense for the rents in my area. So Trenton's where, guess we're going to go to Trenton, right? So since then, I believe that the demographic works for rentals. That for the most part, if you hold to your rental standards, you can get good tenants that are willing to stay for a very long time in your properties. The 1% rule plays very well in Trenton. I don't believe that. I used to, but I don't think this anymore. That Trenton's going to turn into the next Hoboken. Trenton may become. Like Trenton's going to work its way up. I mean, it's going to change, but Trenton row homes are never going to sell for 200. The stuff that's selling for 40 grand is never going to sell for 250,000 anytime soon. So I don't think it's going to.
Is it appreciating because of just inflation?
A little bit. Yeah,
is that what it is?
Just because there's a lot more money coming in and that wants a home. But Trenton is a good play. I mean, just the cash flow works, and so people have been chasing cash flow the last couple of years. So Trenton has made sense just for that. Just because it's a good cash flow place. I think that it may start blending in more appreciation later, but it's never going to become a strict appreciation market. I think it will always be a cash flow market, and it'll always be, some good areas and some okay areas. So,
do you diversify your portfolio based on that? Do you do some cash flowing and some appreciation, or do you do all cash flowing, or do you
We do mostly cash flow investing, but I've been trying to invest in markets that have slightly more cash flow, more appreciation. Like if I can get a market that's like 75% cash flow, 25% appreciation, I'm happy. I don't want to bet on the coming. I mean, coronavirus is a perfect example of if you got into a market that wasn't going to make you anything for the first couple of years and it's going to go up in value long term, coronavirus changes the game. I believe in dividends, cash flowing now, as soon as I can get it. And honestly, on multi actually appreciates based on cash flow because of a concept called forced appreciation, meaning like the more money a property makes, the more money it's worth.
Right. So in that regard, you're betting on both appreciation and cash flow. You want the cash flow now, and then you're going to force the appreciation through raising the NOI by reducing expenses or raising rent or adding amenities or whatever.
Yes, correct.
Gotcha. Okay. And I want to go back to the one question I had. So you were saying it was a long, slow process, but going from diamonds in your backyard, 30 minutes to going to 4 states, investing in 4 states. If somebody wanted to, like I'm in Philadelphia, if I wanted to invest in Texas or Florida or any of the other hot markets, how would someone like me make that transition? Like going 2 hours away, you're still able to drive that, right?
Counterintuitive, man. I'm gonna tell you. I think that you should first, it should be a market that really well already. Some people might like if you think that Dallas, Texas is the next bee's knees end all be all place where you got to be, and you're going to be missing out unless you're invested in Dallas, Texas, and you know nothing about Dallas, Texas. then first examine why you really want it. It's just because your brother-in-law told you over a couple of cocktails that Dallas is the place to be. Examine it further to make sure that it really is what you want. If it really is, and you really believe in that market, then put yourself on an airplane and fly to the market and get to know it. Spend some time there. Put boots on the ground. Go meet with people. Go to RIA meetings if you can there once or twice. Most importantly, above all, people think, well, I need a broker that can send me deals in those markets. Nah. First thing you need is a property manager. You need to find a property manager you can trust, because I can tell you in today's real estate market, the way things go, things move fast. So you're going to put something under contract and you're going to be expected to close in 45, 60 days, 90 days. This is pre-coronavirus kind of talking because we don't really know how things are going to close post-corona. But at the end of the day, I still think that's going to close around the same velocity. My 2 cents. But you're going to need to have a good PM lined up to manage whatever size it is. Single family homes, small multi, mid-sized multi. Make sure you've got a PM lined up that can manage the assets for you once you have them under ownership. People try and start with brokers that can send them deals, and I want to talk to brokers and wholesalers. That's all great. But what if you find a deal? People discount property and asset management. Those are actually the keys to profitability of real estate, and they kind of get in the short end of the stick. All people want to talk about is finding deals. Finding a deal is great, but I could give you the best cherry of a deal on the planet, and I could show you 10 ways that you could screw it up once you own it.
Right.
It's really about management once you own it to get the checks.
Okay. So fly out to Dallas.
Yeah. Go meet with PMs, walk their properties, drive around, get to know neighborhoods. Find neighborhoods that are a little sketchy you don't want to invest in. Find neighborhoods that are great you'd love to own in. Try and find some real estate. Do some driving for dollars. That's what they call it. We drive around, look for real estate that you like, and go play the game of trying to find the owner, knock on the door, whatever you're gonna do.
Right.
And then maybe meet with some brokers too. But you're not gonna really work yourself in the way to becoming an expert for a market unless you really put boots on the ground yourself at first, and then build a network of people that can help you in that market longer term.
Right. So if I'm having the cocktails and we're talking about Dallas, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and I fly out there, what am I looking for? Am I doing the 1% rule? Am I just seeing the properties here actually fall in that 1% rule? What else am I doing? How
the 1% rule? I mean, the 1% rule, just mind you, is not it only works in Trenton. No, it's just that's just simple finance, right?
Yeah.
That most real estate is going to have it in the realm of a 40 to 60% expense ratio, meaning every dollar that comes in rent, 40 to 60 cents of it goes to pay expenses. So because of that only leaves but so much left to service a mortgage and to go into your own pocket and profit. Right. And so what you can pay for a property is really limited to how much income's coming in. Because what you can pay for, it's going to govern how much debt you take on. It's going to govern, how much cash flow you make. Right. And so really it's income the property brings on a monthly basis, and how much debt you're going to take are the two things that drive it. Expenses can get changed. Expenses, you can drive down expenses, you can drive up rents. But if you view your income, your expenses as static, as being you don't change those, then all you've got left is how much money you're going to make in cash flow and how much debt you can take on. That's all that's left in the equation. And so if your property costs too much, then your debt's going to be too much. And if you pay too much for the property, obviously your ROI on the cash flow you're going to make is not going to be good. So that's why the 1% rule plays everywhere.
Right. So what am I looking for? So I'm trying to get a pulse of the market. What am I actually looking for when I drive down there? And I'm talking to people, right? I'm going down there. I'm talking to property managers. I'm talking to different real estate investors. I go to RIA groups. What am I looking for in terms of
opportunities? You're looking for you're looking for opportunities for your business to make sense, right? So an opportunity could be a property manager that is managing the kind of real estate that you want to be in, right? That's an opportunity. An opportunity could be a neighborhood that's on the bubble of being like a great neighborhood. It's an okay neighborhood, but you've read some articles and talked to the right people and talked to the right brokers, or your property manager validated for you that the neighborhood right next to this really great neighborhood is about to be the next one that's going to pop. That's an opportunity. A distressed owner is an opportunity. Potential partners are opportunities. So just look for opportunities that align with your goals. That's what you're looking for,
Right.
and whatever
Right.
that opportunity might look like.
Right. So you're looking for that little nugget, that little gem that somebody local knows because they're there and they're like, yeah, that next neighborhood. Or you're looking for people who are willing to partner with you, and maybe these are newer people who are like, hey, I'm looking to get started in real estate, and you can use them for certain things, and then you can use your property manager for other things.
Yeah.
And the whole checks and balances, and you're essentially just building your team.
Yeah. Yeah. Build your team. Get to know the markets that make sense and the ones that don't in the city that you're in, because there's sub-market. Like Dallas is not just Dallas. I mean, geez, Dallas is like a, 5-mile radius or a 5-hour drive radius around the center of the city.
Right.
It's an enormous
Right.
megapolis, So you can't just say, oh, Dallas, that's where I want to invest. No, you got to know the right neighborhoods. You got to know all the different neighborhoods and all the this and all the that. And this is a good one. This is a bad one. You got to really research it to understand where the opportunities are in a place like that.
Right. And it's funny that you brought up Dallas, because I flew there, I think, a year and a half ago for a multifamily conference. And all of these, there's like, everybody wants to buy these multifamily proproperties. And there was
Which one was that? Was that last year in 2000?
I don't even remember anymore, but it was hosted by Brad Sumrock.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Some rock, some don't. Yeah.
Some rock, some don't.
No, I went to Michael Blanc in Dallas, which is what I was asking. So, okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. So different deals were being sent to us, and like somebody sent me one that was like nearby, and I don't know anything about Dallas. So I showed the people who were at the event who lived in Dallas, and I was like, "What do you think about this?" They're like, "Don't go into that neighborhood."
Right.
I would have never known. I would have.
And if you just went off the 1% rule, you're like, oh wait, the numbers look good though. The rents are good. This is that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you've got to measure. There's other measurables besides the 1% rule.
Right.
We look at crime stats. We look at local. You can go micro demographics and figure out what the median income is for a neighborhood. And that, I mean, there's a lot more micro you can do when you're researching properties.
Right. And then once you have your blueprint, you can apply that to every city that you're considering.
Yes.
And then just checklist. We got a question from Jin. Jin asked, I just completed my first BRRRR deal using hard money, but I have not refinanced yet. Should I wait or refi ASAP?
First of all, congrats, Jin, on your first on your first BRRRR deal. Congrats. I can tell you, like, Jen, if your April is collected, and your April, if April rents are paid and it looks like May and June and forward are going to get paid too, then I think you're okay to go for a refi. I can tell you banks I've talked to are quoting rates in like the low 3s. So rates and terms are really, really good. So
yeah, I wouldn't actually see a reason to wait. I don't see a reason to wait at all, because who knows what's going to happen moving forward.
Oh, sorry. I just screwed up. You there?
Yep.
Yeah. But I'm reading the comments like you are, and I clicked on something and it took me to the live feed of you and I talking, and that was bad. So, yeah.
Yeah. I don't see a reason to wait at all.
Sorry.
Just there's no reason. Just if you can refi, then
do it. I mean, the other thing, Jen, is that lenders are a little skittish right now. And so at the end of the day, if you find a lender that'll close, then go for it. Because you're not going to get better terms than what's being quoted right now for rentals, for small rentals.
How many books did you write?
One.
Just the one. Okay.
Yeah.
Because Althea was asking, I missed the conversation. What's the name of the book again? So what's
Raising Private Capital.
Raising Private Capital. And what's the
you can go to Bigger Pockets. You can actually go to my website, derosagroup.com, and it's for sale on my website. It's just going to link you over to Bigger Pockets. You want to buy it from Bigger Pockets because Bigger Pockets gives you a ton of free giveaways, which you don't get if you buy it on Amazon, which is fine. It's actually a few dollars cheaper on Amazon, so you can get it there too. But I would go get it on Bigger Pockets because you get a bunch of free stuff if you buy it there. And you go to my website, derosagroup.com, DEROSAGROUP.com, derosagroup.com.
if anybody buys your book, would you sign their book for them?
You better believe it. If they're local,
Right.
if they mail it to me, if you mail me your book, I will mail it back to you signed on my. I'll pay to mail it back to you. That's just what
Wow.
I'll do. Yeah. So,
Look at that.
well, it's an odd. I'm still. I haven't forgotten how blessed I am to have what I have and to have people that are willing to hear what I have to say and everything like that. I still have to pinch myself sometimes because it's really cool that people are willing to hear what I have to say, which is awesome. So I'm very grateful. If Thea, if you want to pick up my book, gladly sign it, no problem.
Keon said, "I just ordered the book too." Hey,
Woo!
Yeah, it's working. It's working. Well, you
Thank you,
just
Keon.
said, yeah, you just said something neat. That you sometimes pinch yourself because you're like, I don't even believe like this is my life sometimes. But you weren't born this way, right? You weren't you weren't like, here you go. Here's a massive real estate company and 700 units, whatever.
No, I'm the son of a steel worker. No, I'm not. I was not born into money. Was born into middle class and had a good life, good time growing up. There was always 3 meals on the table, and we never worried about losing the house or anything like that. But I had to learn about financial wherewithal outside of my house.
Right.
And down the road, like once I read books like Rich Dad Poor Dad and experienced life a little more, I had to figure this thing out on my own.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a neat point because a lot of people are like, oh, no one in my family, nobody in my family talks about it. Nobody in my family does this and all that. And you're saying, well, hey, nobody in my family did it either. I had to go out and figure that out.
I mean, my father would say things and I didn't realize, he didn't realize he was giving me like the nugget that was going to stick. But he was having like a hard day at work and that, and he just sighed. He was he worked his way up to being one of the executives of a steel company, and that, but he had owners that were above him that were, keeping him where he was at. And he said, he came to me one day, he's like, son, you might do okay working for other people, but you're never going to get rich, and he just sighed because I think that he saw that not that getting rich was the only thing I wanted to do, but I saw that being an owner, being the creator, the entrepreneur of the business was where I wanted to be because it gave me a lot more control, a ton more risk, but a lot more control,
Gotcha.
So yeah, it was, there were a few moments where he gave me great gifts, not realizing he was doing it at the time,
Right. And I'm sure when he said it to you, that it wasn't like, like it probably landed and it took a few years.
Well, I was like, it was one of those moments. I still remember him saying, I remember where I was sitting. I remember, where we were when he said it,
Right.
But it was one of those moments that I was like, and it kept coming up in my head. I kept thinking about it. And I was only in like high school at the time. And then when I got older and started my own business, I realized what he meant.
So now this is the first time maybe somebody on this call is listening to you saying it, and then they're going to be like, I remember where I was when Matt said it.
Well, I thought more about it, right? And what it meant to me now when I think about it is, and not every company is like this. So before I make a lot of people scream at me, most companies pay their employees just enough to prevent them from quitting.
Right.
Just enough, like here's quit salary, like, what, I won't work for that, and here's what they'll pay you.
Right.
Now I get most people value their employees. Some companies value their employees and are willing to give you lots of perks and lots of benefits and stuff like that. But I submit to you that all those perks and benefits are so that you stay working for them and they can keep you doing what they need you to do. Right. They're not going to pay you any more than they have to, because why would we sacrifice the company's welfare or the company's well-being or even the owner's profitability by overpaying our staff,
Right.
and the first thing that happens in a recession is companies start laying people off, and just jobs are not as protected as people think that they are. So,
right.
And I'm not saying I'm against it. I mean, I had a job for many years and a lot of people that I love and respect have jobs. So I'm not against jobs, but just understand there's a lot less security in there than people think that there is.
Absolutely. And people confuse that. They think I hate jobs as well because
Well, you kind of
Um,
say that you do. I follow you on Facebook, brother, man. I see all that crazy talk you put out there on Facebook.
I
So
never
I know.
actually say that I hate jobs. What I do say
I
though
know.
is that there are all of those inherent risks that you're saying. Like when the market turns, you're getting let go. And also your job is paying you just enough so that you don't quit. But
Hmm.
then on the flip side, the employees work just hard enough so that they don't get fired, right? So there's that game that they play. But there's also other things
That's
that you
funny.
give
That's a
up.
good analogy. Employers will pay you just enough to stop you from quitting, and employees will work just hard enough to stop from getting fired. Yeah, it's
Right.
true. It's true. And by the way, the only difference, the difference in that is commission-based salespeople, people that get paid more for the smarter and the harder that they work.
Right.
Those are folks where there's a better alignment of goals between the company and the employee.
Right, right. I actually love commission jobs, like
I
all the
had one.
jobs.
What'd you do? Did you have a commission job?
I have one now. I do the Hones loans. I do bank stuff. So I actually
You got to
it
own that. Like you own the brand though. I mean, I get you're doing, yeah, you got some of your own stuff going. I get it. I sold man, I've had mostly sales jobs. My first sales job, I sold imitation perfume and cologne.
wow.
Um yeah, man. Like not juke, it was like jump, like chop,
Yeah.
like CK2, like
Yeah,
um
but sales, yeah, it's
yeah, I
awesome.
did that. I sold corn and produce on the side of a road at the back of a pickup truck for a local farmer. Um, I was a waiter, which was kind of selling, but it was also just working your tail off, and
Right.
running around and dealing and just more customer service and anything. And then when I quit my job, when after college, I was a traveling sales rep selling industrial machinery,
Hmm.
like big heavy equipment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I like the commission jobs because they offer people like us the ability to make however much we want. Right. And
Yes.
it's all
Alignment.
based on our production. Yeah, it's an alignment. It's an alignment with the company's goals and it's an
Yes.
alignment with our goals.
Yes.
But I hear people who like, oh, I can't do that. I have to get a salary. And what I hear when I hear that is that you're not going to work as hard as you're going to be paid. Like you're going to be overpaid for what you do, but you're a salary worker, so you only you're only going to do enough to not get fired, but you're going to aim to do less work than your salary is actually paying you. Because if
Yeah.
you were a commission, if you were going to do a lot of work, then you would get paid a lot more, but you plan on doing less work and just, make that
Well, what
vig
was
of
funny
difference.
is funny. It kind of backfired on my employer when I was a commission-based salesperson because what I figured out is I could work enough to make the money that I needed to make to get by. So I wasn't willing to work like 70 hours a week to
Uh,
work my ass off to make, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I figured that I could live fairly well at that age and have the real estate and have a budding real estate portfolio, and enjoy life and make, maybe not even six figures, but live a pretty good life and put
right,
in 25 hours a week. I figured
right,
that out, that I could work 25 hours a week and make enough to get by. My company, they never knew that, they never
yeah,
knew I was coming home at 2:30 in the afternoon, or that I was sleeping until 7 a.m. or no, sleep until 9 a.m. some days if I wanted to. This is 25-year-old Matt, not 44-year-old Matt. But like me in my mid-20s, I figured it out that I could not half-ass it, but just work enough to make what I needed to, if that
right.
makes sense.
No,
And
that
some
that that
commission-based
makes sense.
salespeople can figure that out,
Yeah, I actually I had a friend of mine who was getting paid, and then he was getting paid for the job, but then he would outsource to other people to do the job, and he would just find cheaper people, and he ended up doing nothing, and yet getting paid. And
It's
hey,
called being a
that
boss.
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Arbitrage. They call that time arbitrage. Yeah.
time arbitrage. Well, I guess that's ultimately what we're all trying to do. We're trying to figure out how to make a lot of money passively through real estate investing and things like that so that we can have more time to do whatever it
Well,
is we
real
want.
estate investing takes away compensation by the hour. you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that get paid are either getting paid by the hour or expecting to do a workload that your employer has come up with. Like, okay, I want you to do this box of work and I'll give you this box of money. People call that a salary for a job description, right? So if I get that salary, let's say it's 40 grand a year, it's not, you're right, it's not by the hour. Well, I'm not paid by the hour. I only, I make a flat rate. Okay. And then you get PTO, you get all that stuff. But here's the thing. The box of work they've given you is about as much work as they think they can give you in a 40-hour week time frame.
Right.
Like if they see signs you don't have enough on your plate, you better believe they're going to put more in the box, you know. And if you can't keep up with what's in the box, they're either going to fire you and give the box to somebody else, this box of work that they're giving you, or if you're smart enough, you're going to convince them that there's too much in the box. They have to take a few things out or get you some help or whatever. But more likely, they're going to try and find somebody else that they think can carry the box without you. You know,
right?
Again, that's a good analogy. Box of work for a box of money.
And people, box of money.
Yeah, people think that's not. You know, I'm not getting paid by the hour, but you are, because they're coming up with a job description that's magically about 40, 50 hours a week. For you to do more, and probably more like 50, you know.
And they tweak the dials as you were saying. They're tweaking the dials based on what they're seeing and what you're delivering.
Yep.
When I had a salary, I actually convinced my boss that what was in the box was too much work, and so he allowed me to hire an intern. So we got an intern.
And who paid for the intern? You or them?
Them. They paid for it. Yeah. But actually, it was
well played.
Intern. Yeah.
What?
It was a free intern, actually. So it was.
Well, I mean, listen, if somebody listening right now has a day job, you just start looking at your job like an entrepreneur, right? Look at what's in the box of work and say, okay, my comp rate, if I were to work a 40-hour week, my comp rate's like $40 an hour. I'll make it up, right? Look in the box. If everything in the box is $40 an hour or more worth of work, got it. You're justly compensated. But if there's things that are in that box that are $10, $15, $20 an hour, level work items,
task, action items,
you need to take those things out and go to your boss and say, hey, listen, I shouldn't be doing this stuff. If you give me a $15 an hour, $20 an hour subordinate trainee that I can train up to be at my level, right? I can do more things, but I can also be more productive. I could probably put a few more $40 an hour things in the box to do. And by the way, give me a raise, because that's an awesome idea, boss, you know, and hire me an assistant. And so we both can make more money for the company, you know?
Right.
But that's thinking like an entrepreneur.
Right.
And I think that people should look at their job as an entrepreneur would, about optimization and about how you can step in and optimize things and maybe work less and make more.
Yeah, I call it entrepreneurship. So it's just being an entrepreneur inside the company and figuring out how you can make more money, and you're not so pigeonholed to their structure of here's a $40,000 salary or whatever it is, right? There's no you can make more money. It's just people don't think outside of the box enough, and we take it for granted because we're entrepreneurs, and that's how we needed to think.
We have to think that way.
We have to, right? It's not cookie cutter. Nobody tells us what to do, and nobody goes, here's the work. If you do this work, you get paid. For us, we have to find that. We have to figure it out. We have to learn negotiations. We have to learn how to be with ourselves. We have to learn how to get over our egos and all of that kind of stuff, so that when we talk to the customer, we look a certain way where they say, okay, your service is worth this much money or whatever, right? So so we have to learn that, but we take that for granted that that's our life every single day. Whereas an entrepreneur or an employee, they're like, here you go, here's your box of work, and just do it. So that's a big difference there.
But I wish I could tell you I came to this call with a script on like analogies and little metaphors and stuff like that. But a lot of these things just kind of come out of my mouth. And so the box of work for the box of money, those are all freebies. I do not have a trademark on those. You guys can have them. So.
Well, I don't know how much of my stuff you watch, but be sure that when you watch my stuff in the future, that is going to be reused.
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to.
I can inception some ideas. So
yeah, let's see. We got
one or two more. I gotta go do a live session for my community called DeRosa Insiders. I'm doing a live session at 5:00. A little pick Matt's brain session over there. So
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna hold you any longer. So
No. Do good. Do the
what
questions. You got questions. I'll answer those. But then we probably should
uh,
head out after, because I got a whole nother group of people that are wanting to hear what I
you're
that are
you're
wanting to pick
staying
my
busy.
brain a little bit.
You're staying busy. So Damien, he's writing a comment. I switched from employee to freelance consultant and make a ton more. So it's just a comment. That's pretty cool.
Sweet. Good job, Damien.
What if you had to leave people with advice to be more productive and to come out of their situation, their stay at home isolation? What piece of advice would you give people that's easy to consume and digest? Like, what piece of advice to be more productive, to be more
Just
prosperous coming out of
something to
this?
do, right? Well, you gotta
Yeah.
find something. Okay, I'll go deep on you again. There's a book called The Way of the Superior Man that I read, and it's not just for men, but it's just called that. But The Way of the Superior Man, and it talks about your comfort zone. And a lot of us choose to operate inside of our comfort zone, and like, just, this is my bubble of comfort. This is what I know how to do. This is what makes me feel okay, and I feel safe operating inside this bubble. But I submit to you, and I've heard Will Smith say this, that all change happens outside of your comfort zone. And so if you are sitting at home right now looking for something to do, and you want to manifest a bigger life for yourself or take things to the next level, you got to find the things that make your sphincter pucker like that. Like, oh damn, oh no, I gotta go cold call. I gotta go build a YouTube channel. I gotta go build a website. I gotta get a pie. Whatever the thing is that excites you but scares the what out of you, right?
Right.
It's got to do those two things. It's got to get you excited. It's not like I want to run a marathon. Like, shit, I hate running. I don't want to do that. Like, it's got to be something that excites you but that scares you. And so if you find that thing, we all know that thing. We all know what that thing is. If you think hard enough, and your brain's probably talking you out of it. No, you don't want to do that. It's that. It's the thing your brain's trying to talk you out of. That's the thing. And now the challenge I submit all you guys is to take one step towards that thing each day, if you can, to just investigate it, engage in it, face it head on. Don't keep thinking about it. Write down like a business plan about it real quick. Just type it out. Again, just type and write, even though you don't want to write about the thing that scares you and why you think it would be awesome if you did. And then go tell 3 people about it, or research it. But you got to promise me that if you're going to research something, you got to also then take action behind it, because research is not action. Research can turn into paralysis by analysis. Research can turn into just spinning around and reading articles about things that excite you and living vicariously through other people,
Right.
So take action, do something. Even with Corona crazy, I can promise you, you don't have to be just sitting at home watching Netflix right now. There's other stuff y'all could be doing while you're waiting for the world to get back to normal, So that's what I submit.
I love it. And that research thing, that tricks people. They think because they're doing research, they're doing.
I'm Googling. I'm doing it, right?
Right.
You ain't doing nothing, man. You're just reading, That's cool. I get it. But you should be researching enough to find ideas. When you research, your research should be answering the question of, what should I do? Right? What action should I take? Researching is not collecting data so I can analyze the data, and then I can go back and analyze the data again, and then go back to thinking about the data some more and go collect some more data so I can add to that data and then have my little bucket of data. Aren't you proud of me? Look at this data. No, that's not going to put any money in your pocket. That information is meant to inspire action, right? So go and research for the purpose of inspiring action for yourself.
Love that. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Matt, thank you so much for all of your time, your wisdom.
You're welcome, Hone, man. I am grateful to be in the Hone Zone. I'm grateful you and I met. I'm grateful that we've developed a friendship, and I think that this is an awesome service you're doing to your Facebook community by having this. If I can dig it out, I don't know where it is. The video, the interview you and I did on my YouTube channel, is it out yet?
Have I released it? I haven't seen it, so I'm waiting on that too.
I don't know what either. Yeah. It's in it got behind all the Corona crazy. Like I said, that's all people want to talk about now. I'll have to release that sooner than later. But as soon as it's out, if it's not out yet, if it is out, I'll put it in the notes. If it's not out yet, I will put it to the top of the list.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're awesome, Hone. Thank you. Thank you, man. Can I come back again? Is your audience okay with that? Would that be fun?
I hope so.
Yeah,
I think they'll be okay with it. So,
I hope
yep,
so. Can I tell people how
yeah.
they can hear more about me?
Of course, I was going to ask. Hey, Matt, tell everybody how they can find you.
I forgot to mention my shirt. I'm wearing a shirt called Transforming Lives Through Real Estate, which is my favorite mantra that I came up with for my company. Because we do. We transform lives through real estate. Real estate touches a lot of lives, and real
Sure
estate
does.
investors should be proud of the lives that they're making better through what we do. Now, you guys want to hear more about how to transform lives through real estate, or how to hear what DeRosa Group's up to, pick up your handy dandy cell phone, pick up this guy right here. I know y'all probably have it within arm's reach, and text the word DeRosa. DEROSA. That's the name of my company, the DeRosa Group. Text the word DeRosa to the number 66866. 66866. Text that number, that word to 66866, and you'll get an enormous basket of goodies, a whole bunch of freebies that I put together, videos you can't get anywhere else, articles I wrote that you can't get anywhere else, and a ton of stuff on Corona crazy that you can't get anywhere else either. So text the word DeRosa to 66866, and obviously just go to DeRosaGroup.com, DeRosagroup.com, DeRosaGroup.com to hear all kinds of cool stuff about what we're up to.
Is that it right there? Text DeRosa to 66866.
Can't do any better than that, Hone.
Awesome.
I want to get one of those wall sticky things that Eric Cabral has in his office where he's got the stickums on his wall. I want to get those back. Here's my home office. I want to get like this whole wall full of stickums of like all kind of branding and stuff like that, but not today.
Tomorrow. Take action.
Tomorrow. Mañana. That's right.
Yeah.
Take action. It makes me uncomfortable, and it's something actionable, so I'll do it.
Right. Right. All right, guys. Well, that was the Hone Zone, and with Matthew Faircloth.
So Hone, you're the man. Thank you.
See you later. Bye-bye.